Hi, I'm David. We have some time to talk today, and I was wondering if we could discuss your transition to college.
What, anything in particular?
Just maybe what you went through, how you feel about it.
Okay. So I was very resistant to going to college, just in the sense that I had every intention of going, but there was kind of just that in between where, like, I don't necessarily want to, but I know I have to, so I'm going to.
Mm-hmm.
Have to just for the sense of, I know this will be good for me later.
Right.
And, everybody talks about all these experiences they had in college and all these people they met. And I liked the idea of not reinventing myself per se, but being with a bunch of people who don't necessarily know everything that's ever happened to me, because I grew up in a town where I was with the same people like kindergarten through senior year. And that can tend to get a little incestuous.
Right.
When you've known someone since they were like 5. But I'm also like really attached to my home and my mom and my dog.
So it was hard to leave.
Yeah, it was definitely hard to leave. I'm just attached and I'm really, really bad with change. Like really, really bad. I tend to catastrophize everything. Like from little things to big things. So immediately, if I know that there's something going to be different and I don't know exactly how it's going to play out and I don't necessarily have control over how it's going to play out, all I can really imagine are the ways it can go wrong. And I do that with most things. My way of like remedying that was choosing to go on a pre-orientation program. So I was like, okay, at least I'll know some people before the first day of school, even though in a way my first day on pre-orientation felt like my first day of school.
Right.
And I'm actually, all of my current friends are like mostly from that trip, but branching out, we had like a really unique group in that we all decided that each other were cool. And we were like, wow, we're so lucky, we're all so cool. And I live with 2 of them now, and one of them lives here.
Wow.
And they're all my friends still.
Amazing.
And I purposefully chose that group. I went on the backpacking and hiking group because I predicted that the coolest people were going to be on that trip, and I thought that people who went on the other trips that stayed at lodges and stuff like that were going to be more high maintenance, maybe a little like cattier in some way, and that I was going to be able to like vibe better with the people on the trip I chose. Not necessarily because I'm this big outdoorsy person, but I tend to like those types of people.
So you see yourself as a low maintenance, easygoing person, and you wanted to make sure that you found like-minded people.
Yeah, I was trying to ensure that I was going to find a group as easily as possible. And I'm definitely high maintenance in other ways, like emotionally and things like that, but when it comes to like amenities and like needing soap and clean clothes all the time, like I can do without it. And I wanted to find other people like that. And I did, which was very self-assuring for future choices.
And what do you mean by future choices?
Whenever I'm faced with new change, I tend to forget about how I overcame it last time. And that's just me catastrophizing and not like logically thinking like, you're fine, you're a very capable person with good interpersonal skills, and you'll always find people.
Why do you think you do that?
Catastrophize. I feel like a lot of things in my life are out of my control, so I try to have control over them as often as possible, which is why I'm like a planner. I like to plan things because I like the idea of being like, A, I like the aspect of planning because it gives me something to look forward to, and B, because I won't catastrophize as much if I at least can have a positive thing to cling to.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, I feel like a lot of people died in my life when I was younger, and that kind of instilled a sense of things are out of your control. So, like my dad died when I was 4.5 before the computers and information, and other people died too. My mom's dad died 6 months after that. And then her mother died when I was 12, and both my dad's parents were dead before I was born. I had this cousin who died. I had this babysitter who died. A lot of people died.
some loss has really created this for you, you think?
Yeah, definitely. And that's why I'm also so choosy about like bringing people into my life and like who I want to surround myself with, because a lot of it has to do with like choosing a family, because I recognize that like people die.
So you really, your friends are your family, and so you're very picky and specific about who you choose.
Which can be difficult for my friends too, because I'm holding them to the standard that they might not have necessarily accepted.
Have you ever felt that pressure, where they make you feel almost bad about it or something? Or is that just your guilt?
I don't think that they really make me feel bad about it, at least not consciously. They won't be like, you're putting too much pressure on me, but I'll realize myself, like, they didn't necessarily like, sign up for this, and that I can't always put the pressure on. The only person that probably will recognize that I, like, rest a lot of emotional security in them is probably my boyfriend.
Right.
He'll, like, recognize, like, putting on pressure.
Right. And has that ever come out in a negative way for you?
What do you mean?
Have you ever almost experienced like fear because you're putting too much on him and like what if he's not there or something like that?
Yeah, and that's also a reason that transitioning to college was difficult for me, because I started dating my boyfriend really not long before college. I was so happy, and it was like the first, like the very serious relationship I had, which started at like a super unfortunate time. But I had pressure to want to keep that together, which made my first semester here, first 2.5 semesters here, like, I don't know. And then eventually he transferred here last semester, and that was good. Like, also being in like a long distance relationship, for a little while was difficult, and that was additional pressure.
So, you said that it happened at an unfortunate time. Like, can you tell me more about that?
I mean, just like get into a serious relationship like 2 months before you go to college is just, it puts a lot of pressure on the relationship, because it's like, we have so little time together, like, let's make the best of it, which then makes it more serious because you're trying to have these serious experiences together.
Right.
But, like, but then also, you know, I went into a long-distance relationship that I was only with for someone who I was only with, like, 2 months. So we were still learning things about each other for a little while. And, like, I put my eggs in a basket that I didn't necessarily know was going to hold them. Right. But it did.
Yeah.
That's good.
So, can you talk more about sort of once you got to college, what it was like, maybe adjusting to being alone, living alone, relying on yourself for everything?
I don't really recall that being incredibly difficult. I think I was busy a lot of the time, which is a good distractor from thinking about how alone you are. But I also got a lot of, like, reassurance from the fact that I made some really good friends from the start. And I don't know, I kind of, like, channeled I tend to, like, make jokes out of my anxiety, so I'll, like, channel that into, like, a really silly way of presenting myself. I'll, like, be very embarrassed about it, but I'm open about it. I'm like, wow, that was really embarrassing, or whatever, like that. So, I don't know, not that my personality was any different when I went on that pre-orientation trip, but I don't know, I definitely acted differently in some sense, just maybe that I had nothing to lose, A, because these people didn't know me, B, they couldn't compare it to anything in the past, and, like, it was, like, my first impression, so it was lighter. I didn't have to think about them, like, analyzing what I was doing in a sense, like, oh, but she said blah, blah, blah last time, or something like that. I don't really know how to explain what I mean, but I don't know, there was, like, a lightness to my personality when I first met everybody.
It sounds like...
I thought I was a lot funnier than I was. Therefore, I got to school and, like, really considered trying out for a sketch comedy group. Then I went to one of those, I just went off. Yeah, I went to one of the tryouts and tried improv, and it was terrifying, and I hated it, and I left. So I got to college, and I tried something new, and then I checked that off. I was like, okay, you can stop now.
So it sort of sounds like you keep talking about fresh start, and, like, you know, these people didn't have the history. Was there a point in high school where you wanted to be rid of your past?
Yes, because I really don't like who I was in middle school, and I tend to, like, consciously form myself in direct contrast to that. Don't want to go too into detail with that, but I just did not really like who I was at all in middle school. And I liked who I was in high school.
Okay.
But also I was like, I'm a person who tends to, like, stick with something, like, in a good way, but then I also lose track of the fact that, like, my interests can change, which is what happened. Like, I was in student government, like, 5th through 12th grade. And by like, high school, I was still into it, but I wasn't as into it. And same thing, I won, like, most involved in high school, but, like, I'm not like that at all here. Because I was so involved in all of these things in high school that I had assigned myself to from such a young age and, like, wanted to climb the ladder at. And by the time I was at the top, I was just kind of a little bit over it and busy all of the time. So I got to college and wanted to consciously kind of not be a part of anything and just be, like, a person in the crowd. And, like, try that out, and I've been doing that, and it's been good.
And do you think that's more of a reflection of who you are, or more a reflection of a reaction to who you are?
In high school?
Well, I mean, in general, like right now, the way that you behave, is it a reflection of who you are, or just yourself trying to be as far away from who you are?
I think it's a reflection of who I am, because at that point I wasn't being who I was, and I was very caught up with, like, natural, stupid middle school bullshit where people, it's like, oh, you're supposed to wear Abercrombie, and you're supposed to wear this bar mitzvah sweatshirt that you went to this weekend. Right. And, like, I was always, like, a Sasquatch, like, very large, like, taller than everybody, and just, like, physically bigger. So, like, Abercrombie, for example, all of my stupid little friends were wearing Abercrombie, but I was too big for the brand that I had to wear Abercrombie bitch. So all of my clothes said A&F, and that was, like, a constant, like, weird, like, reminder that I was different in a way. I always felt kind of like a sore thumb.
Yeah. Did by using the word, by, like, calling yourself a Sasquatch, do you see it your stature as a negative?
I mean, then I did, because I did feel, like, cute and petite, like my friends, you know. I was just, like, this abrasive being. And, like, you know, I was, like, forcefully on travel basketball teams and other stuff like that, just because of my size, but not necessarily because I wanted to be. Right. And, like, lacrosse, they would throw me in the goal because, like, I took up more space than other players. Stuff like that. So, like, I felt like my stature oftentimes didn't define me, but, like, was, like, a highly salient factor. Right. That was not ignorable. And it definitely caused, like, self-consciousness issues, which, like, haunt me today in, like, a different way. Like, a seed of self-consciousness, not necessarily current self-consciousness about being a large person, because I kind of leveled out. Now I'm, like, pretty average-sized. So, and it's weird because people wouldn't treat me differently, because they had no idea that I used to be that way. They would just imagine that I've always been average.
Right.
But I was, like, literally 2.5 heads taller than everyone. It was so awkward.
Earlier you were talking about how you felt like you didn't fit in, and how a lot of that came from your middle school experiences, and the size differences and that stuff. Do you feel like that feeling of not fitting continues today at all in any way? Are you really...
No, because I definitely am more so, like, within my own boundaries of how I want to be, and like we're in a place where it's very acceptable to be whoever and just like be a nice person and not need to like uphold any status things. I don't feel the need to like continually like recharge my image. I kind of just go about being, and that, I don't know. What was the question again?
Just do you feel more part of the group? Do you feel less?
Absolutely, yeah. I feel like people like genuinely want me around, as opposed to like this stupid group of girls that I was associated with in high school. Well, I was kind of just associated with because we did a lot of similar things, and it was easier to be associated with them. And I didn't really like any of them that much, but my best friend was also in the same boat as I was, so that brought us a lot closer, which was another reason why coming to college was so hard, because I was very attached to my two best friends, and obviously thought, oh my god, I could never, like, find two other people like that.
Yeah. Do you... going on to sort of now later in college, now that you're in your third year, do you feel like the transition is over? Like you belong here, and there's nothing really new for you.
No, I very much feel like an established member of this community, like extra so, like living in the apartments. I feel like a real person.
Right.
Like that was a very big issue for me. Going into my sophomore year might have been even harder than like going my freshman year, because I was like super, super depressed coming into school last year, and I really didn't want to come. I hated the idea of living in a dorm again. I hated like that lack of independence and feeling like a person controlling my environment. I did not like living in dorms at all.
Is that what you would say exclusively created the depression, or were there other things?
There were like, I don't know, I just still felt like I didn't really know what I was doing here. I really got it together by like towards the end of fall semester last year. Like when I like got to school, was super excited about it, got a therapist, like worked on my self-esteem. I just wasn't really looking forward to like anything in life at all, and that helped a lot. I'm not gonna say like the therapist like exclusively helped me, but they definitely helped. And I don't even remember the question again.
Can you talk a little bit more about what it felt like to not necessarily know what you were doing here?
It made me feel like super lost. Because, like I said, like in high school, I was attached to all these things. I got here, I was like, okay, I need to find a thing. And, like, I kept telling myself I need to find a passion, but actively searching for a passion is not how you do it.
Right.
So that put, like, a strain on just enjoying things, because I was looking for something to attach myself to.
So you felt this pressure.
Yeah, I felt this pressure, and eventually I realized that I ended up choosing psychology, and someone told me once, like, psychology is a selfish major, and I really like that, because I think I did choose it to understand myself better. Mm-hmm. So I became attached to that, and I realized that I don't necessarily have to find a thing, which is what I wanted. I wanted a thing. I wanted a thing I do here, but if I just do the things that I enjoyed, like I started working in the metal studio, and I started taking psych classes, and I started playing on intramural volleyball, which made me really happy. That those just kind of become your things. And then it was fine when I stopped actively searching for a thing.
And when you're talking about, actively searching for a thing, are you just looking for something that, take up your time, or are you looking for an identity at all?
No, I wanted something to that I was motivated to continue doing. I wanted to find something that I couldn't not do. But everyone just kept reminding me, you can't look for that. It just happens, and then I stopped looking.
And when you stopped looking, you stumbled upon them?
It's not that I stumbled upon them, but I just started enjoying the things I was doing more.
That's nice.
Yeah, just tried to like go about my life as opposed to like consciously trying to create my life.
And
Less planning.
do you find that becomes an issue a lot, where you're trying to have control when you can't?
Oh yeah, yeah. It definitely like impedes on spontaneity. I'm not like a crazy spontaneous person. Like sometimes be like, oh, 12 o'clock, let's get ice cream. But like that's, I don't know. I'm not like a super spontaneous person. But I think that if I was, I would. I think that would be rewarding. I don't know. I very much am like a homebody. I like to be comfortable. I like to just chill. I don't like having to like put on my social facade. And I like kind of like just like being in environments like this, with people like you and all these people that live here. And just hanging out. And it doesn't, I don't know. I think a lot of people like tend to look down on that. Like people who I used to be friends with in high school, they'll be like, so what do you do? Like, what's like the night scene like? Would you go out? And I'm like, no. I just want to be like around people who, like, I know who want me to be there, who I feel comfortable with, etc.
You're enjoying the no pressure situation of knowing that people love and accept you for who you are.
Yeah, because I tend to be a self-conscious person. So if I'm around people that I know are fine, then that really reduces my anxiety. And I tend to be like a pretty anxious person when I'm trying to get things to go a certain way.
And when you experience anxiety, can you tell me sort of what your thought process can be like?
Well, I get pretty stuck in it. Like, I can be a super logical person, but not when I'm in that, like, anxious frenzy where it's just building upon itself, and all I can think about is, I feel this way, I don't like feeling this way, I still feel this way, I want this to be over, this is what I want, I'm not getting it, I will never get it, this is going to go wrong, I'm still feeling this way. And it just kind of is like a vicious cycle, and even though I know that, like, my boyfriend will tell me, like, you just need to, like, fake a smile. Like, if you smile long enough, or if you just, like, fake an emotion long enough, like, you'll actually experience it. And that pisses me off, because I just want to experience what's going on. And, like, I don't know. I don't like being told, like, oh, yeah, just fake something else. I'm not good at, like hiding emotions. Like, if I'm feeling a certain way and I'm going out, like, yeah, I can hide it to a certain extent, but I don't really want to. It just make, like, that feeling of, like, suppression makes me want to explode.
And is it limited to your boyfriend trying, like you talk about that anger as if it's larger than that. Does it extend past him?
Anger at him suggesting that?
Well, yeah. Well, the people or him trying to repress your emotions.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people can relate to, like, when you're feeling something and you're talking to someone else, you don't necessarily want them to be giving you advice, you just want them to listen to you bitch.
Yeah.
You know?
I really quickly, last night, I said that exact thing to my girlfriend.
Yeah. I just want to bitch right now, and I want you to say, oh, I'm sorry.
Just a hug and a yes.
Yeah. Because the fact is that, like, I know the advice you're giving me, and I agree with it, but I'm not in the mindset right now to be receptive to it.
Right.
It's like, I'll remember it later, but we just need to, like, indulge this for a little while.
Really feel what you're feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes, obviously, that can be, like, an issue. But if it's, like, within moderation and it goes away, it's fine. Like, those really low times make, like, the better times feel a lot better in contrast. Human existence.
Well, I think that we covered a lot today.
We did cover a lot today. Thank you, Doctor.
And that this was really nice, and I really appreciate your honesty.
Thank you.